And my husband's a small guy, and he could easily kill me with his bare hands. So, yeah, like, I'm always prepared to be killed by a man. So,
how's my hair look?
it's fine.
Hair look good?
I mean, as good as mine. Looks like I have no hair. One day I'm going to have my hair down so people know I have hair.
Have you thought about shaving your head?
No, I have a big head. I have like a Charlie Brown head. I can't shave it.
All right, I guess we'll get started.
It's true.
Let's start with your Charlie Brown head.
Have you seen my children? That's my head.
Oh, man. All right, so we recorded one a couple of weeks ago, but apparently I completely screwed up all the video, and in the process of editing that one, I screwed up the audio too.
Oh, okay.
So all of the 30 minutes of poop talk gone.
Oh, no.
So we're going to call this episode 4, even though this is the 5th one that we've recorded.
Okay.
But I think we've got all the video stuff set up, even though it's doing this weird square thing on your face up there. But
That's it. We can talk about the whole slider thing eventually with technology and me. And
oh, yeah, how you keep screwing everything up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's go with our first. Okay, so I heard the most disturbing random fact the other day.
okay.
A third of the people walking around on the planet do not have an inner monologue. Do you have an inner monologue? Like, do you?
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, so you're driving, there's no sound, are you talking to yourself in your head?
Not always, but sometimes.
So imagine there's people out there with none of that.
How do you test that, though? Like, maybe they just don't. I don't know.
Well, I think you ask them and then they go, no, I don't. What are you talking
But maybe
about?
maybe they're just saying that. Like, I mean, then what is in your head if, like, that's really.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so now every time I'm out in public, I'm looking around and I'm like, 1 out of the 3 of you have nothing going on upstairs.
Maybe those are like the NPCs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We're in simulation theory.
probably.
Like, you're full in on simulation theory.
Well, one, I don't do any research about anything, so I don't really know exactly what simulation theory means, but I have my own thoughts about what it is. And I know that, like, sometimes I'm on, I get stuck on a loop, like in my own life. It happened to me recently, and I'll literally have to say, like, out loud, like, change my loop. I don't want to keep seeing the same strangers, and then I'll, like, change. So
What do you mean a loop?
like, this one week, it was the weirdest thing ever. I went to, me and Callie went to lunch. It was like during work. We were working together. We went to lunch at Amici's in Covington. When we walked in, there was a table of guys that I go to church with sitting there. Like, this, they're like all the kind of like leaders in the church or whatever. And I know most of them, and they came over and said hello, whatever. Not a big deal. The next day, totally different time, because that was like around 12-ish. This was like around 1:30 the next day. I had stopped in Covington to go in a Smoothie King to get a smoothie because I didn't have time to really eat lunch. And I parked in a weird spot, and I waited in my car forever because I was doing stuff on my phone. And then I finally got out, and I was walking into the Smoothie King, and right as I was walking into the Smoothie King, that same group of guys, the same group I had seen the day before, were walking into Firehouse Subs. So our paths literally, like, crossed again. And I was like, no, this is ridiculous. That's 2 days in a row. Granted, I have never, before that week, seen any of these people outside of church. Never, not one time. Next day, I'm getting my nails done in the same place, right? Where the Smoothie King Firehouse Subs is, right over. I got done getting my nails done. I go out. I get into the turning lane to turn into Chick-fil-A, and, I have to turn left into Chick-fil-A. There's a car that is also waiting to turn. I'm waiting on them to turn right. They're coming this way, so that I'm like, we're like, stop, because I didn't know if they were going to let me go. Guess who's in the car?
Not those guys.
Same church guys. I was like, all right, I'm done. Please get me off this loop. I do not want to see them every day at lunch. This is ridiculous. I've never seen these people before. Get me off the loop. I haven't seen them since. So yeah, there's something. I think they get lazy. Whoever like programmers are, I think they get lazy and they just like keep us on. And I'm like, okay.
So this is the problem with cartoons when we were little, because there was always that one cartoon where it's like they break the fourth wall, and they jump out of the page and they start coloring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think maybe we watched too many cartoons when we were kids,
Maybe.
and that's why simulation theory is a thing. I blame all of this on Looney Tunes.
Maybe. I think simulation theory is because of the Truman Show. Because if anybody watched that movie, I think every single person that watched that movie started thinking, oh my God, am I Truman? Like, is this all? You start like trying to like look for wires and like.
So you haven't seen these same guys since then. How long ago was this?
That was when Callie was training with me. So that would have been Thanksgiving-ish, somewhere around there.
Really?
Yeah.
And you just like said, take me off the loop.
Yes.
And they just.
I was like, switch it up. You're being lazy. I don't want to see these guys every single freaking day. And it was different times a day, different places. It's not like I do the same. Because a lot of people are like, oh, but your routine, and other people have routines, so your routines are going to overlap. Nah, I have different routines. I do different things. No, like I don't want to see them every day. And I know it was freaking them out. I know it was, because the guy's face when he saw that I was the one waiting to turn.
But if they were really NPCs, like programmed by the machine, like, do you think that?
Well, it's a group of them, so I don't know that they all are. Because the guy driving, when he saw me, I could tell, and he was just like,
do you think he
what
demanded to be
is
taken off the
happening?
Loop?
Probably.
Or do you think that it
out.
freaked him out that he didn't see you the next day?
I don't know. He looked freaked out. And then we saw each other at church, and it was really awkward. Because he was like, oh, hey, I've been seeing you a lot lately. And I was like, okay. It was just weird.
And you think to just have a conversation, be like, hey, yeah, that was super weird.
No.
Like, are you in the Matrix too?
We don't have that kind of relationship. And I'm definitely not going to talk about that at church.
Well, see, that's where I'm going, though, is like, I feel like that's diametrically opposed to the whole church thing, right?
Well, not necessarily.
I know we don't talk a lot about religion
No,
on here,
we
but
don't.
you go to church every week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I don't think it is, because I mean, you know, well, we are told that everything is kind of predetermined to a certain extent. So I don't know.
Because I thought that Christianity preached free will.
Well, yeah, you have free will, but there are things. I mean, ultimately, whatever God wants to happen to you is going to happen to you. Period. There's nothing to do about it. That's why we don't talk about church on the podcast. But I don't necessarily think it contradicts. I think you can have a little bit of both. But it doesn't, there's no biblical support for simulation theory. So.
All right, I might piss like everybody off, but wouldn't it be possible, if we were in the simulation, that all of Christianity was programmed in the simulation?
It's possible.
So everything that you believe, even though you believe in simulation theory, some of the programming stuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously the programming stuck. If we're here and we're living it and we're participating in it, then yeah. Whether you believe in it or not, you're still participating in it. Right?
These are kind of existential crises I have while I'm driving home from work.
No, but I mean, at the end of the day, what difference does it make? Like,
yeah, I mean,
are you happy in it? Cool. Then stay in it.
So I've been reading a lot of the Stoic stuff, like, and that's one of those things, like, you can't do anything to change it, so why are you really worried about it?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think if it's simulation theory, like, maybe we try to break the code and be Neo. I don't know.
No, I'm afraid if we, like, break the glass, the other side is just going to be, like, horrible.
Reset. Boop.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. And then, like, there's people that believe that you keep getting chances to, like, be a better person. And so when you start to see, like, these glitches, it's really you're just being reset. Which, I don't really believe that. But there are people that think that. I have a friend that thinks that like, you live indefinitely until you do it right.
That's Hinduism. And that's the basis of Hinduism, right? The reincarnation.
Well, that's reincarnation. This is like you live as the same person.
Are we talking like multi-universe?
Kind of, yeah.
So it may not be this universe. You may just be in the...
Well, no, you're still in this universe, but like the time lapse, you don't even realize, like, if you feel a little glitch, it could be like 100 years, but you didn't know it. You know what I mean? So it's all time-based.
God, this whole thing took a weird turn in the first 10 minutes.
I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying I've had conversations with people that think that like time is very bendable. And so, did you ever see Interstellar? Did you ever see that movie?
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh my God, it's so good. But it's kind of like that. Like, whereas like his future self was trying to communicate with his present daughter while his present self was there, because he had gotten so far away from Earth that the time had bent around. You know what I mean? So he was actually, his future was in the present. So it's kind of that whole theory that time is bendable based off of distance. But, you know.
I watched an episode of The Orville where they went really fast towards the sun and it turned the time back.
Sure, same thing. We've talked about space and time before, about it being a grid, and you can pull a grid. You pull a blanket, you hold a blanket like this, and this end and this end are this far apart.
Yeah.
And then you put a bowling ball in the middle of the blanket, and now this end and this end are touching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the theory of relativity and whatnot.
So, well, that's what I'm saying. So if that's time, if this is past and future, and you drop a giant weight in the middle of present, then past and future can actually meet. So it's kind of the same thing. But I don't know how we got from simulation theory to that.
That's what I'm saying. And like, I could talk about this weird stuff all day because I'm so interested in like how different people see the universe as a whole. Because I'm on like a weird path, like trying to figure out that whole spiritual balance type thing. Like, I grew up Southern Baptist, and there's some Pentecostal holiness and some snake handling and whatnot in there, and I just had a bad taste for the church, and I don't know. I have a hard time denying any kind of greater creator, but I also have a hard time believing a lot of the stories.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think I'm actually, I don't know if we've talked about it, but I'm actually listening to a Bible podcast right now that's like just going straight through start to finish, because I've never read the Bible start to finish, and I'm probably never going to, so I'm going to listen to it start to finish.
So growing up Southern Baptist, that was one of my punishments during the summer, is if I got bad grades, I had to transcribe the Bible start to finish.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
No.
So I might be one of the most well-versed agnostic people ever.
A lot of agnostic people are, but it's been really interesting for me. I'm not agnostic. I'm Christian 100%. But it's been really interesting to me because
that's going to play into our next topic.
Oh, okay,
Go
great.
Ahead.
I think most of my churching growing up was spent in the New Testament. I was raised Presbyterian and then Baptist pretty much. And so mostly New Testament, didn't know much about the Old Testament. Every once in a while they might reference.
See, to me, New Testament is where it all starts falling apart.
Well, now that I'm in the Old Testament listening to this podcast, it's so different. And it's almost like two different gods, which I understand. I understand what Jesus did to change our relationship with God. Like, I understand that. I don't know that we have any listeners, but if we have like Christian listeners, like, I get it. I understand.
If we have Christian listeners that aren't open-minded, go away now.
Well, no, I mean, I don't want to. Anyways, I understand that like the laws and the rules and everything changed, but the relationship, the presence, back in the Old Testament, like these people were communicating with God on a regular basis, not like praying up in the sky, like having conversations with him. And it's like as the human race grew bigger, our distance got further and further and further, which was probably by design. But it's just weird because it made everything, it brought in so much middleness, where it used to just be Adam and God or Moses and God. And now it's like because the distance became so great and we had to, like, they had all those rules and regulations and sacrifices and do this and do that and do this and do that. It's like it put distance and then it put so much mud in the middle. And I think that's where a lot of, when you get to the New Testament, there's still a lot of mud. And it's like you almost forget where it was like a one-on-one thing. It's just weird listening to the Old Testament, listening to it word for word. I'm like, man, this is a way different relationship that God had with those people than he has.
See, and
now.
that's one thing that kind of, I don't know, it trips me up on the whole New Testament thing is, basically Old Testament, if you go back to that, all the Abrahamic religions, right? And I'm probably going to sound like an idiot right now, but
disclaimer: neither of us know anything about, like, from like a scholarly standpoint.
No,
nothing about it.
I've got the internet,
right, and a Bible.
But from the Old Testament and the Bible to the Quran to the Torah, like all of the Abrahamic religions have the same base. It's when the New Testament starts going its direction, or Islam takes the path of Muhammad, or that's when everything starts getting a little bit washed out for me. But when you boil it all down to the base of the religion, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Once
you get beyond that, I have a hard time rationalizing a lot of the stories.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we both listen to preachers that will tell you, hey, yeah, these stories are hard to believe, but you have to believe. And that's where I have a hard time, because I'm a very binary person. I'm yes or no, did it happen scientifically or not?
Yeah.
My abs are like twitching from the workout this morning.
I'm not feeling it yet. I will, though. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think a lot of people have a hard time with the stories because they're so, they just seem so unrealistic. And I know a lot of people have a problem with the fact that, like, we feel like nothing's happened in so long. Like, you feel like, I mean, when's the last time you saw an ocean split in half? Like, people feel like nothing's happened in so long. But things are happening. You just have to, because there's so many more people and because everything is so spread out, you may not be able to see, but, like, things are still happening all the time. It's just...
But see, that's the thing where, like, I would figure now with the internet, with every social media, everything, the minute something happens, it should be blowing up everywhere, right? Or is it getting suppressed? Like, I didn't want to get into a religious debate today, but by God, here we are.
I don't know that it's a debate, but I mean, I don't know. I think little things do happen all the time, though. Like honestly, our existence is incredible. You've seen...
Oh, I agree. And that's why I'm saying the Old Testament makes sense to me. There was a creator. Mm-hmm. Somebody created all this. There's no way it came from nothing. I mean, it came from nothing, but...
Well, and you see in the Old Testament over and over and over again, the human race screwing up. God's like, oh, God, these people suck. Reset them again. Oh, my God, you still suck. Reset. Well, that was the whole point, if you're a Christian in Jesus, is that was the final reset. That was like, I'm never going to have to reset again, but these people are going to have to, they're going to have to get their salvation through him. And if they don't do it through him, I can't do anything else because I can't keep destroying the world every 100 years when these people screw up. So that's either you believe that.
That might be the best boiled down explanation I've ever heard on the basis of Christianity.
That's all it is. When God first told them, it's, all right, listen, you can have everything you want. Don't do this, this, this. What did they do? All the things they weren't supposed to do. He's like, oh.
Yeah, we were kids.
He's like, all right, you suck. Let's start over. All right, you can have a relationship with me. Don't do X, Y, Z. What do we do? X, Y, Z. He's like, Jesus Christ, I've tried so many times.
I don't think he said Jesus
Christ. He did. He had Jesus right next to him the whole time. He's like, bro, I'm going to have to send you down there. Like, they won't stop. They won't stop being terrible.
So Jesus was the enforcer.
So finally, he's like, look, the only way I can balance these scales, right? Because people are terrible. I am perfect. I would love to have a relationship with these terrible people, but we're not balanced. The only way it's going to balance is if I send someone else perfect. You're going to have to absorb all their shittiness. Not only are you going to have to absorb it, but forever they're going to have to acknowledge that you absorbed it. And if they don't acknowledge that, then there's nothing I can do for them. Because I can't keep resetting the earth every time these people continue to screw up. And my issue is I wonder, so Jews are just people who didn't believe Jesus as the Messiah. They're followers of God who are still waiting for the Messiah they were promised in the Old Testament.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
Well,
So
I'm probably going to screw this up, but I think, you know, I'm not even going to say it because I'm probably so stupid and wrong.
well, because, I mean, Jesus was a Jew. They were all Jews.
Yeah.
And then when he came, half the people believed in him. Half the Jewish people believed in him,
Yeah.
became Christians. The ones who didn't remained Jewish.
Well, I think that's where all three of those religions kind of overlap, is they all acknowledge that Jesus was a prophet.
Right. Well, and then I'm not sure with Muslim, but I think that they believe the promised Messiah was,
No, they don't believe that he was the Messiah.
oh, they just think he was a prophet.
Yes.
So are they
He's-
still
he's-
waiting on the Messiah?
I don't know that part, but I do know that they consider Jesus and Muhammad both prophets.
Okay.
But Muhammad basically was like their Moses, I think, that he basically got the word of God and transcribed it, and that was the Quran.
Okay.
So that's my dumb understanding of
Well, either
Islam.
way, I don't like when Christians have the belief, which is hard because I just said it, but yes, I believe that our acknowledgement and putting our salvation in the hands of Jesus is the way to do what we're supposed to do to meet the criteria for heaven. But I wonder about the people who, like Jews, who they do everything that God tells them to do in the Old Testament, but they just didn't believe that he was the Messiah. What happens? Do they get a chance to go up there and be like, my bad, I didn't realize it was him, but I have been faithful to your laws and rules and covenants that you gave to us in the Old Testament?
See, and I think that's where I have such a problem with like the binary nature of Christianity, is like either you believe 100% that it's Jesus or not. And that's the line.
Well, I don't agree with that, because if you look at the Bible, God gives us, the human race, chance after chance after chance after chance. So I don't believe that in death, you're no longer going to get any more chances.
Oh, and trust me, growing up Southern Baptist, you're going to burn
I know, and I don't
forever.
I don't agree with that. I do think that Jesus is the way, is like your pass. Like, if you actually truly believe, not just say it, but you believe it. But I do think there are chances when you cross over. I think that there are going to be chances to still make the right choice or do the right thing or whatever. I don't think that if you don't believe in Jesus in this physical world, that you're condemned to hell. I do not believe that. And that's why I have a hard time with church too, you know that, because I have a very strong faith, and it's hard for me when it's almost like I'm told things that sort of, it's like people are looking at me and they're like, well, you're not faithful if you believe that. It's like, you have no idea what my faith is. Like, you're...
Yeah. I have a problem with other people judging your relationship.
Yes, and I mean, it is what it is. But I go to church because I'm trying to learn more than anything. I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care. And I like to play my tuba, so I'm in the orchestra, so I like the music. But it has been very interesting going back to the Old Testament and seeing how many freaking times God has tried to give us a chance to do the right thing, and every single time we fail.
Oh, yeah. As a 12-year-old transcribing the Bible, the Old Testament scares the shit out of you.
It's rough. It's rough.
So now that we've had our Bible study for the week, we're just going to change the podcast to Michael and Mary's Bible study hour.
No, please do not listen to our.
It would be terrible.
Terrible.
We're both just like internet sleuths that just believe whatever the internet says anyway. So you've brought this up a few times now, and now that we've had that discussion, I need to see how you reconcile brother husbands.
Brother husbands. Brother husbands is in response to sister wives, which we all know what sister wives are.
Yes, which is a perfectly rational.
So in sister wives, the concept is there's one husband, multiple wives, gazillions of children, because all the women are having children. Usually, like, a few of the wives will work and a few of the wives will stay home and raise all the children. So you usually have like maybe two or three incomes, depending on how many wives. This is all of my knowledge of sister wives is based off the show Sister Wives on TLC, which I used to watch religiously. So
I think if you go back a little bit further in history, it was to produce more children to work on the farms and help gather food, and like there was a historical significance for the tradition of sister wives and whatnot.
and also men just wanting multiple wives.
I don't think that's accurate. No man wants to put up with multiple wives.
Back then you didn't have to put up with wives. In the times you're talking about, they just sat down, shut up, and did what they were supposed to do. They didn't have all the attitude we have now. So yes, they wanted multiple ones. Now, no, because we have too much going on. But now, brother husbands is the way to go. Because you have one wife. That means you're very limited on how many children you can have, which is great because kids are expensive. And you don't need as many people to stay home. So say you have one wife and let's say 5 husbands. That means 5 or 6 incomes in one family. That's a lot of freaking money.
Okay.
Okay? So automatically you're ahead. Tons of money, less kids. So let's say maybe, I don't know, I don't really think she has to have a kid by each husband. It just depends on when you come in. Like, if she's done having kids, she's done having kids. Like,
all right, so now I want to
That's what it
explain the
is.
scientific difficulties of this to you.
okay. Oh, wait, also, one more plus. So men, you have all these husbands, so you'd have to have a pretty big house, right, to have all these husbands. Well, there's a lot of maintenance and upkeep to a house. So instead of having 5 women who, like, can't do all that much when it comes to, like, physical labor, you're going to have freaking 5 men, grown-ass men who can do, like, roof stuff, yard work, moving shit, like, all that kinds of building stuff.
You want me to burst your bubble? The type of man that would put up with that shit is not going to do maintenance on
I
your
don't
house.
think that's true.
That is 100% true.
I don't think it's true.
The type of man that would do any of that would be able to turn a screwdriver, is not going to put up with that.
I don't think that's true because, think too.
And they're not going to love any of those children
Well, I mean,
because they don't know if they're actually the father of those
oh,
children.
no, you'd have to know who the father was. That's important for the kids.
How are you going to know?
You just do a DNA test.
Okay, so if she's banging all 5 of the dudes, let's just go with 5. It's a good round number of men.
You're so mad.
I'm not mad. I'm very scientific on this, right? So
Okay.
there's 5 dudes banging this one chick.
Right.
We've all seen that movie, but not all at the same time. Like, she's
Right,
rotating through.
right.
We got 5 different bedrooms. All right.
Right.
Well, let's say one of the guys, his swimmers aren't swimming as good as the other 4. So she ends up having 2 kids by one of the guys, and now this guy has no kids. He's not going to give a shit about any of those other kids.
I mean, if that's true, I mean, so be it. There are people who don't give a shit about their biological kids. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm saying though is, unless if you're even if you're DNA testing, like, those men are not going to have any respect for that woman. Period. Because she's basically getting a train ran on her every day.
that's not true. She's sleeping with one guy at a time. I mean, it's the same thing as when a man has multiple wives. He's sleeping with a different woman each night.
And the reason for that is because, let's say he had one wife, and again, we're going back historical on this, right?
Even though I'm trying to apply brother husbands to current times, but we can go
Well,
historical.
I'm saying, like, I don't think that polygamy is rational nowadays
Well, it's
because,
really not, but it's really just in theory, brother husbands makes more sense than.
but it doesn't because
does.
back in the day when you had fields to plow and whatnot, you needed labor on the farm, you needed sons, right?
Right,
So a woman can only produce one child every 9 to 10 months.
right,
If you have 3, now you're producing 3 children a year, every year.
Right.
Now you're producing a workforce.
right.
That was the reason for it. These guys that are going out and getting 7 or 8 wives, that's ridiculous. Like 2 to 3, that way you're at least rotating.
But now you need income. You need people who can work. You need adults who can work.
Yeah.
You need more adults and less children.
And the men that I want you to go on the internet and find every polygamist couple that has multiple men in it and tell me any of those men are doing any work.
Why
They're all
would men,
blue-haired
but look,
weirdos that can't get a job to save their life.
Think about it too. So wouldn't it be nice, you as a husband, wouldn't it be nice for you to have like a few days where you could just do your own thing? You didn't have to worry about like...
I do my own thing now. I feel like I have a very traditional marriage where my wife leaves me alone as long as I get the stuff that I'm supposed to do done around the house, and I've got my nice office up here, and I get to come up here and do whatever I want.
I don't think that many men... I mean, I guess, I think it's weird that so many women are willing to be in a polygamous relationship and so few men are.
Yeah.
Like, that's very bizarre to me.
That's very telling of women.
What? That we're open-minded and chill?
I don't think that's open-minded. I think that's lazy.
I don't, because I think it's more work. Because then a lot of times you're having to take care of, you take care of other people's kids.
Well, no, I'm saying like you don't have to sleep with your man as often because you got other chicks that'll take care of it.
I don't think that's why they do it.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in a polygamous relationship.
Well, according to the women on the show, which now, like, the show's, like, falling apart. I know you don't watch reality TV, but it's falling apart. Like, the wives are leaving and, like, all this stuff, right? Because that man is just a bad husband. Whether he's a bad husband of one wife or 5 wives, he's just a bad husband.
Yeah.
Period. So, I don't want to talk about him, but he sucks. And it has nothing to do with being a polygamist. He just sucks as a husband. So, a lot of them are leaving. But originally, they said they liked the idea of it because they like the... like community sense. So why are there no men who want a community sense? Like, I don't...
Because men are naturally... There's always... You get 5 men in a room, I don't care if the 5 men have been friends since they were 5. There's a pecking order to those men. Men will always establish, and I don't want to go like full-on trope on this, but there will always be an alpha, and there's a pecking order to men. There's always one established.
And there would be in a polygamous relationship, too.
So what stops that one guy that's at the top from telling the other guys to fuck off? I get her 3 nights this week.
No, because who's making the rules is the woman. In my theoretical...
That would never work.
In my theoretical
Because once again,
world,
any man that would allow that to happen is not the type of man that would be supportive or productive in society.
I don't think that's true.
I think it's 100% true.
I don't. I think that...
Talk to Patrick.
Oh, I've talked to Patrick. My husband is very anti-brother husbands. But what his thing is... Because
he would be the only producer in that whole relationship.
No, he says, one, he doesn't want to, like, physically share his wife, which I understand men are weird. Men are weirder about that than women are, I think.
Super weird about not wanting other guys banging our wives.
I think men are more strict about it than women. I think women are more willing to share their husbands than men are to share their wives.
Well, women are also more experimental.
Like, right. That's what I mean. More open-minded, more chill.
Kissing chicks and stuff,
right.
And it's okay. They can go right back to dudes. But if I were to kiss Patrick, there's no coming back from that.
I mean, I wouldn't care. Me and Angie would not care if you and Patrick
Me and Patrick
kissed.
would never be able to sit in the same room ever again.
But that's y'all's issue. That's not our issue. The men need to evolve a little bit. Like, catch up.
I don't think we do. I think we need to devolve.
No.
Have you seen some of the evolution that's happening right now?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't mean like that. I just, there are other ways to live. Now, I would never, ever actually be able to do this lifestyle myself because, one, I'm crazy. So I wouldn't be able to maintain 5 relationships at all. That I just wouldn't be able to. But in theory, I think currently the idea of brother husbands makes a lot more sense than the idea of sister wives. Sister wives, to me, one, doesn't make any sense. And it seems like a very outdated, ridiculous practice.
Yeah, it's outdated because you no longer need people to work the farm.
Right.
Like that was the only reason it was there to begin with. These weirdos that are keeping it going, like they're just
there's
weirdos.
A lot of people that are keeping it going. Not even from a religious sense, just from a lifestyle sense.
Yeah,
but what I don't understand is why, and I guess why no one's doing it the other way is because there's no men willing to. I guess that's the answer to why no one's doing it the other way.
No, there's some men willing to, and it's happening out there. Like I want you to Google search. When I'm editing this, I'll put up the picture of the couple that there was like 3 guys and a girl, and she got pregnant, and nobody knew who the baby was, and the whole thing ended up falling apart. But they were all weirdos.
Yeah, no, I just want normal people who work like normal jobs. Like,
that's the thing.
One can be a doctor, one can be a mechanic, one can be a school teacher, like whatever. Just have all these different jobs.
You might get school teachers, but I promise you're not going to find a mechanic that's willing to share his woman.
See, the mechanic's the one we really need for the house.
There you go.
So,
That's what I'm saying, though, is like men that are men are not going to be down with this.
But is it because you can't be? Because you're being I'm a man, I'm not sharing my wife? Or is it because you truly feel like you can't? Like you wouldn't be happy. It would make you unhappy.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, well, that's valid.
In a guttural sense, my job as a man is to maintain my family, to produce, to be a productive member of society.
And you wouldn't be able to accept another man into
Correct.
that family. Okay. Well, then you can
Like
do it.
that's one of those things where I think the idea of manliness has broken down over time so much that the men, quote unquote, that are willing to do this are not the men that we need in society.
Well, I haven't found any men willing to do this, so I don't think it's broken down that much.
You're not in circles with weirdos.
Oh, I don't know.
Because, so this kind of takes me to my next point, which is psychopathy, which is my new, like, I'm diving deep into psychopathy. And I feel like I feel like it's more prevalent in women, which allows you guys to desensitize yourselves to that kind of thing. Where I feel like men, obviously, I'm not talking about like psycho killer psychopathy. I'm talking about just general everyday psychopathy, which is probably one of the most prevalent mental disorders in the world. I feel like more women are affected with psychopathy where you can just desensitize yourself to those kind of situations. Like you said, you can kiss a girl and just go on with your life and not really care about it. Whereas a guy, like, that's gonna mess me up permanent.
Yeah, I think our brains are very, very, very different in how we can compartmentalize and how we can rationalize as far as women versus men. I think that men are pretty good at compartmentalizing. I'll say they're probably better at that than women are. But we can rationalize things to a point of acceptance easier than I think men can.
I would agree with that.
I think that and I don't really know why. Like, I don't know if it's because we've always been, because, we ever talked about like inherited trauma. We ever talked about that?
I don't, no.
How like trauma can actually alter chemicals that can actually be passed down.
Like I know about this,
Okay.
but just from like Joe Rogan and stuff, like Animal Kingdom type stuff, like animals are naturally, like they evolve to be afraid of certain things. Like
Right.
how cats are afraid of cucumbers because they look like snakes.
Okay.
Even though they've been a house cat their whole life and never seen a snake.
Okay, I've never listened to Joe Rogan, but I've read a lot about the trauma gene. They call it. It's not really a gene, but it's a mutation off of. And I guess maybe if you look back historically on women, there's been a lot. So maybe we have evolved to. Our chemicals have changed our ability to kind of handle things. Like, I think that for women, I don't want to say we're mentally tougher because we're not. We're actually.
I thought that was going a whole different way. Go ahead.
I just think that like when you're historically lower on the food chain, like you as a man, as a human male, you're basically always the top, and you always have been. You're all of the men all the way back in your line of whatever has been. But for women, they've always been second on that for as far back as possible. So I do, to some extent, our brain chemistry has to have changed because of that.
Oh yeah, like that's
Like, because you could kill me much easier than I can kill you. Now I can kill you if I have a gun, but if we're just hand to hand, you're gonna kill me. Like, I can't.
I think about it often.
Oh, I always think I'm about to get killed by a man. Like, still, I thought my husband was going to kill me last week. Like,
That was the dumbest story ever.
I don't know what happened. Like, again, it's like this primal.
Go ahead and tell the story because I could not believe it when it came out of your mouth.
It's happened multiple times. We were driving to orchestra practice, and we're in the truck, and he just, all of a sudden, he was like, hold on, and like jerks the truck over to the side, and we start heading down this dirt road. And immediately I was like, this is it. He's about to freaking kill me. I don't know why, but this is it. This is where I die. He's going to dump me. And he was like, why are you looking? I was like, I thought you were about to kill me. And he's like, I'm going around traffic. I'm going a shortcut. He's like, why would I kill you? I'm like, I don't know. That was my first instinct. Was like, he's about to kill me. And I have no weapon. Like, and my husband's a small guy, and he could easily kill me with his bare hands. So, yeah, like, I'm always prepared to be killed by a man. So, and I don't think that men have that kind of.
So, I do think that women's threat perception is a lot higher for most women. Like, I feel like they see threats that men don't necessarily see.
Yes.
Because I guess men have kind of evolved to handle threats quickly, but women, and that's why I think women are such good at, women are so good at being mothers and protectors. Like you guys are built to sense threats and protect the children.
Right. Because you don't have, like, you don't have a predator. Like, there's no one I mean, of course, a lion and a bear are going to kill you, but you're not going to encounter them every day.
Thanks for reminding me that I have no predators. We talked about my trauma from childhood.
Yeah?
About me not being diddled.
Well, yeah. That's what I mean. Like, you don't have any predators. You're not walking around with people that can kill you with their bare hands all day, every day, like we are. It doesn't matter how strong. I'm strong as shit. I promise you, any man's still going to kill me with their bare hands. I might hurt them and put up a good fight, which is just going to make them more mad and probably kill me faster. But they're still going to kill me. So yes, our brains are very different, and you can call it crazy if you want to, but really it's just, we know that half of the population can kill us at any minute. And that's a much different mentality than I think any man's ever going to have.
All right, so when women walk into a room, do you guys immediately do like a scan, like, I could kill that person, I could kill that person? Like, I feel like that's a definite thing for men. Like, when I walk into a room, like, I'm scanning the room, and I feel like you make friends with the people that you feel like you're on par with, and the people that you could easily kill, I feel like you dismiss immediately.
So, no.
And I'm not like a skilled combat person. This is me in my own head.
I walk into a room immediately, no matter where I go, it's an escape plan. Because I know
I do that.
Most people in that room can kill me. So I already have to think it's an escape plan, and then it's like an assessment of like tools. Like, because
you're like, yeah, I could definitely break off that beer tap and
right, like,
hit somebody over the head with it.
What could I use to stab somebody, to hit somebody, to beat someone to death? Like, what?
I feel like there's something wrong with us, Mary, because I do this exact same thing. Like, when I walk into a restaurant, like, I'm immediately looking at, like, okay, these chairs are pretty sturdy. Mm-hmm. I could hit somebody with that.
Yeah. Well, exits are the first thing. And then I always think about if someone came in front, like shooting, like with like an assault rifle, it's like, because you'd have to make a decision, hide or run. So you need to know, like, okay, if you're hiding, what are you hiding? Like, are you hiding behind
children? Like, you always grab a small child and hold them in front of you and use them as a...
Well, when the kids are there, that's a whole nother set of checklists that you have to go through, because then you have to decide, like, if someone comes in...
Which one is my favorite? Who am I throwing in front of the predator?
My kids ask me all the time, like, which one of us would you save in this situation? Like, they ask me questions like that all the time. And the answer is, it depends on the situation. Because if it's a water situation, which gives me extreme anxiety, even to talk about it, my heart is like racing. If it's a water situation, a drowning situation.
And we're about to go on a cruise with all the children.
I'm literally going to be medicated because of my anxiety of water and my kids on a cruise. So it's not even a joke. If it's a drowning situation, I'm pretty much going to, whoever I can get to first. And I would go for my oldest. Because in a drowning situation, he has the best chance of surviving without me. You know what I mean?
He also has the best chance of pulling you down and drowning you.
Well, at this point, yeah. I mean, for a long time he didn't because he wasn't strong enough. But now either one of my older two could easily drown me. See, they're more predators. I live with predators. Now I have freaking 3 of them in my own house.
But you also
live
with protectors. See, I think that's the switch that you've got to flip is...
That goes back to trauma. If you, as a child, and I don't want to get too deep in this, but if a young girl ever has an experience where a grown man isn't a protector, forever.
Yeah, I can see that.
All men are predators. It doesn't matter if they're your husband. It doesn't matter who they are. So, and that can't really be reversed.
No, I mean I can see that, and that's probably where a lot of the toxic masculinity talk comes from. Is it like a lot of women have experienced a lot of trauma, and they're the most vocal when it comes to calling out guys as predators. And the fact of the matter is, most guys are not.
Right? No, they're not. But what changes is if you're told that these, when you're a kid, these men are protectors.
So this whole thing takes me into this. I don't know if you're up, because you don't do a lot of like current events type stuff, or you keep up with TikTok and stuff though, right?
Of course. But
So-
if it's about the news, I'm...
Well, so have you seen all the stuff about the gym chicks that are like calling out dudes for like looking at them in the gym and stuff?
No.
So there's a lot of this now where basically girls are recording themselves in super skimpy gym outfits, sports bra and shorts where you can see their buttholes, and doing hip thrusts, and then calling out guys for looking at them in the background. Or I think the most viral video was a guy that like glanced over, and then immediately like just flashing red light.
I know, but what is that? Oh, what am I? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But basically, he glanced over, and then he actually went up and like offered to help put weight on her bar, and she basically just called him out in front of the whole internet as being some like super predator.
See, honestly, I think girls that do stuff like that probably haven't actually had any real trauma.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, and everybody's giving her shit for being like a clout chaser. Like,
yeah.
Like she's just trying to get...
Because it's not a freaking joke. Like if you've experienced something where it truly altered the way you are able to view men, it's not a fucking joke. Like you're not going to be like, oh, let me see if I can get this guy to look at my butt and then call him a creeper for looking. Like, no one's going to do that. Like it's not, you're so happy when someone is a normal person because you expect that. Like if, like, I have big boobs. If I have my boobs out, like if I'm showing cleavage and a guy looks at my boobs, to me, you're normal. Like you're a normal person. And that's more comforting than, I know when someone's not normal. I know when a guy is a predator because I know that. I know what that is and I know what that feeling is. So it's like a girl that does something like that, almost like kind of like entraps people. Then you're doing the opposite because the real creeper, the real guy is never going to come up to you and offer to put something on your bar.
Yep.
You're never going to see the real one because
until he grabs you out the parking lot.
Exactly. Until he has a freaking rope around your neck and he's dragging you from behind. That's when you'll know he's there. So you obviously haven't really experienced trauma if you think that guys doing normal things, like looking at you in a skimpy outfit, is a predator. Because they're not.
Do you have like a high caffeine tolerance?
Yes.
Do you? Like how like I've got a ridiculously, like I'm on my second Ghost of the day, which is like 350 milligrams of caffeine, and it's only 12 o'clock.
So I've never felt caffeine. I've only felt lack of caffeine. So I have no idea what my caffeine tolerance is. I've never had caffeine and been like, oh my God, I feel like I have. No. But I know when I don't have it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I feel like that has no effect on me. I could literally drink coffee and go to sleep.
Yeah.
I can't say it doesn't have effect on me because I feel it when I don't have it, but it doesn't, I don't feel it on the high end.
See, that's like, I don't know, like I'll take pre-workout and stuff and I'll feel everything else in the pre-workout except for the caffeine. Like, I don't know.
I've never taken pre-workout. I don't even know what's in that.
Oh, all the good stuff. It's like the nectar of the gods.
I need to figure out why. I don't know. It's probably the podcast subject, but I need to figure out why I work out so much and don't look any different. Like
I feel like you look a lot different than you did when you first started.
I do, but not to the extreme that I should, considering the amount of work I put in.
Well, okay. I think you're getting more into the aesthetics portion, right? Like that's what you're talking about, like how you look versus how you feel. Like, do you feel better than you did when you started?
I do. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't know. And it's hard too because like I can't say like clothes fit better because actually my clothes fit worse because your body's different. So like my arms are bigger, my shoulders are bigger. I'm really sad I can't wear my freaking jean jacket that I love. I can't. It's just too tight on my shoulders. Yeah, I'm gonna freaking rip it. My legs, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's hard sometimes and then I feel like people always don't believe I do what I do. And it's annoying as hell because it's like every time they're like, you do CrossFit? It's like, yes, I do CrossFit. Like, come to the freaking gym. Like, I'll probably beat your ass. Like, I can do it. I just don't look like I can do it. And that's annoying to me.
And that's where, like, I don't know, CrossFit kind of goes its own way when it comes to the aesthetics portion.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look at, I mean, even games athletes, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you look at the games athletes, like, these are not, I mean, some of them are now, like, they look bodybuilder style. But if you look at the CrossFit Games athletes 5 years ago, they just look like normal dudes.
Yeah.
Like Patrick Vellner, he's come in second, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now. He's a chiropractor. Like, he's a normal dude that just works out, and he doesn't look like super chiseled, like bodybuilder style. Looks like a guy that works out and is strong. And I mean, I don't know. CrossFit is more function over fit, I guess, because we focus more on making sure that you're moving right. But I don't know. Like, to me, like, I saw an immediate change because I had no muscle when I started.
Yeah.
And I put on a lot of muscle. But I don't know. Everybody's body works kind of different anyway. So it may come down to what you're eating. I mean, we just had a 5-minute conversation about how McDonald's tastes great.
I love McDonald's. I'm not going to stop eating it.
So, well, that's what I'm getting at, though, is like, do we work out to do what we want to do?
I do. That's why I do it.
I mean, and that's...
Yeah.
Everybody's goals are different. Like, if your goal is to get super cut, then you can eat chicken breast and broccoli. But if your goal is to feel better and keep eating what you want to do, then keep working out and keep eating McDonald's. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much why I work out, is so I don't, because forever, for my whole life, because I've been fat forever. I was a fat kid. Always been fat. So I've always.
I don't think, so I think there's a distinction that has to be made between fat and thick.
Okay, well, as a little kid, I was fat because I didn't have like curves or boobs or anything. Well, I got boobs really young because I was fat. And when you're a fat kid, you get boobs when you're like 8. So
yeah, I had boobs when I was 8.
Right. So I was a fat kid, and I was a fat
Still
kid.
didn't get diddled.
And maybe that's why you didn't wear skinny enough. So yeah, and then, so I was always worried about eating. You know, always like I was drinking Slim Fast in high school and like, you know, all that crap. So now, one, I don't care because I'm married and he's stuck with me regardless of whether I get fatter or not. And
congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank
by the
you.
way.
Yeah,
How many years?
16.
Nice.
16 years, yeah. So yeah,
And
so
you
I
have
really don't care.
You have a 15-year-old, right?
Yes.
So he was out of wedlock?
Yes,
Okay,
he was out of wedlock.
Okay, go ahead.
It makes it easy to keep up with our anniversary sex. It's like, wait, how old is he going to be? All right, that's it. Anyways, so yeah, so I like to work out so I can eat without as much guilt. Now, I don't go crazy. Like, I don't go crazy. But if I want something, I eat it. If I want, if I want McDonald's, which I will eat.
That's my goal is, I'm going to be clear in my throat the whole freaking time. But my goal now is I enjoy life more than I ever did. Mm-hmm. When I was dieting all the time, trying to get down under 200 and all this other crap, I was miserable trying to figure out what to eat all the time, miserable trying to figure out what routine I needed to be in, how many miles I needed to run. Now I work out to feel better and to keep up with the lifestyle that I want. Like now, like I went probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I didn't drink a drop of alcohol. Not because I had a problem. I was on a health kick and I didn't want to add anything to it. Well, now I drink, a glass of whiskey or a glass of whatever every night, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like, so now I work out to be able to enjoy those things.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that they teach you in the CrossFit level 1 is that health is a spectrum, right? So on one end you have health and fitness, or I think it's fitness on one end, and on the other end you have sickness, right? So the closer you get to fitness, the bigger a buffer you have when sickness hits. Mm-hmm. So the closer you get to this fitness side, if you eat a cheeseburger, that's going to take you down one peg. But then you go work out and it takes you back up a peg. If you come down with a respiratory disease and it bumps you down 25%, you've built up this giant buffer. And that to me was probably the biggest revelation in the level 1 class. And that was what made me really dive into the CrossFit methodology more.
Yeah. I mean, I love it, and I'm not going to stop doing it regardless of what my body does. But that is true where people associate fitness or health with appearance.
Yep, I agree.
And that's really stupid because I can assure you I am healthier than most girls who probably look a lot smaller than me.
So you go to watch any bodybuilding show, those guys are not healthy.
Right, right.
They are at 5% body fat, you can't be healthy.
Right, yeah.
Like you need fat.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, every once in a while I get annoyed, mainly when people make the comment, you know, like, oh my God, you do CrossFit? And it's like...
So all you got to do is like go pick up a tire or something.
Yeah,
like
I know. But it's annoying. But no, I love it because I eat what I want. I do what I want. So.
That's my favorite part is like now if I want a cookie or something, I don't feel bad about eating a cookie.
Right.
Like used to, I had the worst like food guilt ever where I would like on the way home, like I'd be so hungry, I would like stop and get like Taco Bell or something and then sit in my car and just feel like an asshole for eating it.
Yeah.
Like it was terrible.
Yeah, like shame eating. I used to do that too. Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, cool. I ate, you know, a burrito today at lunch and I'll go deadlift 500 pounds. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm freaking hungry right now. My stomach is like growling.
My abs have been twitching. We had GHD sit-ups this morning. My abs have been twitching the whole time. I haven't done those in so long.
I know. Well, you had them. You kept getting them back to back, and then I finally kind of switched, and I was like, "Let me do some of these," because I was like,
my abs, the whole podcast, my abs are going.
My stomach's growling. I hope this microphone doesn't pick it up.
I hope it does.
So embarrassing.
If it does, I'm going to enhance it so much. I'm going to add it to our intro. It's just your stomach growling.
I'm hungry. I'm definitely getting McDonald's now that we've talked about it.
What are you going for when you go to McDonald's?
Usually I get the the 2 cheeseburger meal, 2 single cheeseburgers.
So here's one thing that I did switch up a lot. Like, I love crystals, right?
Yeah, I love crystals too.
Love crystals. My problem is the biggest thing that I've cut out is how much bread I eat. I used to be able to go to Crystals and eat like a 12-pack, no problem.
Yeah.
But now I think about it, I'm like, what's my meat to bread ratio there? Like, I'm eating an entire loaf of bread.
But it's so good, it's squishy and warm.
So, like, instead of doing the double or the 2 cheeseburger meal, I'll do double cheeseburger and just eat 2 patties on. Or, like, I'll go to Wendy's and get, like, the triple. Mm-hmm. And, like, I want more meat now.
I have a hard time with a lot of meat like that. Like, I can't even finish what I was going to say. It's going to be even worse. But,
go ahead.
But when you bite into a lot of meat, it's a lot of meat.
Just
It's a lot of meat. Anyways, I think sometimes I like the 2 cheeseburgers because it's thin and I can just eat it. But it is a lot of bread, but it's freaking good. So that's usually what I get. I think it's a number 7, I think is what it is.
That's just like the biggest thing that I cut out was like the bread.
Yeah, no, I love bread.
Because if I eat, well, I love bread, but like if I eat so much of it, like I just feel bleh. And that was like we were talking about the caffeine thing. Like you don't know how you feel like on caffeine, but you know how you feel off of it. Mm-hmm. That was, I didn't realize how much bread was affecting me until I cut it out mostly. Mm-hmm. To where now, like, I feel so much better. Like, I feel lighter during the day if I don't eat as much bread or, like, just carbs in general. Yeah.
I know what I cannot eat. I, like, literally can't eat or I feel so sick. I cannot eat pancakes or waffles.
See,
I can't eat them. They make me sick, and I love them.
Pancakes is, like, the one thing, like, I will go all bread. And pancakes.
It's something with my blood sugar. It makes me feel really shaky.
Is it the bread or is it the syrup?
And I don't put a lot of syrup though. So, I mean, it's probably the combination of the two, but something about pancakes or waffles, and I want them, like I want to eat them, but they make me feel so sick. I can't eat them. I haven't been able to eat them for years. And I think it's a blood sugar thing. Although, I don't know, my A1C is way lower than it used to be. Now, that's one thing CrossFit did for me. It really
And that's the thing. Like you'll see all of those results that you don't necessarily see before you start seeing the aesthetic results.
Yeah.
Like Steve. I mean, Steve over the last, he's been with us almost 2 years now. I think something like that. Well, he didn't look that much different for the first year, but now he's off of his diabetes medication and everything. And since then, his looks have changed so much over the last like 6 months. It's incredible. So I think you got to get all the interior stuff working before the exterior stuff comes.
Yeah.
But I think we call it there. I mean,
Sweet.
That's a pretty good episode. We
Started with Jesus. We ended with CrossFit.
Yeah. I mean, both very zealous groups of people. Got it. 2 religions. Bookending
That's true. That's true.